Good morning, everybody. Today I'm going to be doing the earth signs. And so I'll be doing Taurus, Capricorn, and Virgo. And so I'll start off with Taurus. My stubborn Taurus, they're so dedicated and so loyal. They're just really strong signs, I think. And they're really in touch with how they feel. Like, I have an old best friend. Well, she's still, it feels weird to even call her my best friend or something because it's like she's my sister, you know? It's like those people who, even if you lose touch, that like they're still family, you know? So she's a Taurus, and she's always really good at showing how jealous she can feel. Which I should give her a call. I love her so much. I love her. Okay. So we are going to be doing a reading for the week of April 19th for Taurus. And I have the Spellcaster's Tarot for them today. That deck called to me for them. And I don't really take jumpers, even though, like, I don't know, I could. It's not like it's not like I have anything against it or anything like that. I don't know. Either way, I'll stop rambling here. I think that the cards are ready because I keep getting like these jumpers, so I think they're ready to talk. All right, guys, what you got? Feel the need to do a little rainbow shuffle. All right, there we go. Okay. So like I've said before, I usually put out 3 cards, and that starts off the reading, and then kind of pick a couple more. And then I really found that I like building a little pyramid and have like the story kind of unfold and come to a conclusion. That's just a reading. It's just a spread I'm going to be working with, but I really like free-flowing spreads. And already straight from the hip, I'm seeing Taurus energy. I know that this is the Knight of Swords, which is an air sign, but he's riding a bull, and so, you know, I'll get to that, but it would appear just at first glance that Taurus, you are going to be moving towards something that you really want. So let's go ahead and kind of back it up, though. So first you have the Page of Cups, and it's like a new emotional experience. I feel like I say that a lot, like. And I know that there has to be more to the Page of Cups, or just the page of any suit. So the thing about the page is that it's very youthful. It's kind of like we shouldn't discredit the page by any means. It's not a discreditation, but they're kind of at the beginning of their journey and strengthening their inner resources, or strengthening their that quality of the cups. So like, let's say for instance, the cups, of course, emotional intelligence. So the page is very early in their emotional intelligent journey, and they may, you know, act impulsively, or they might act impulsively, or they like do that thing where it's like, you know, ask for forgiveness, not for permission. I like that little phrase for very impulsive people. Very youthful. It's a very youthful approach to life. Pardon my slurping on my coffee. Cheers. But But essentially it's a Page of Cups. It's like a new person, a new, or even something inside of you. Maybe you're having some sort of new emotional experience that you haven't quite had before, and it's kind of maybe taking you back to feeling pretty vulnerable, and how you are thinking about how you're going to get back. That Ani DeFranco song just popped in my head, like superhero. And he goes, I used to be a superhero. And it's like she's talking about her defenses and how this person has just like come in and like torn it down, like stripped her down, So I'm kind of getting that vibe, because that just came in for me. But on this card, if we're to read this card specifically, I think you might also be having like some promiscuity coming up. I mean, because this card is very promiscuous. Like there's this guy, it looks like they just finished up a threesome, like, or been going at it all night long. And I'm not trying to be inappropriate. I apologize. So, but that's they're all sweaty and half naked, and there's the guy is, slaking his thirst, sitting on this concrete block that's actually risen above these two that are also quite thirsty. And it's like, maybe you might have competing energies for your attention. That's a possibility. But, it looks to me, Taurus, that this is very new for you, and you're going to go with it. You're going to go with it. I mean, there could be parts of it that feel vulnerable, but there are parts of it that can feel very empowering. Like you might be dealing with a couple of different energies inside of yourself with regard to this new experience and new feeling. And right after that, I mean, we have the King of Swords. So, the King of Swords is like all logic, right? Just very, very discerning, and like really makes decisions not from a place of where this Page of Cups is occupying. So it's like we couldn't have two more polar opposite energies coming right after each other. So who knows? I don't know. I mean, perhaps that's a conflicting energy inside of you. Maybe there's a part of yourself that's like, wow, this whole new experience is kind of making me feel very youthful and impulsive, because I'm so used to being like, at my core, I'm this King of Swords. Like I always just do everything by the book. And, with this, I'm kind of cutting loose. So I don't know, like what's going on. So, hopefully we'll clarify these a little bit more, but those are the new experience, and then coming at it with some fervor, but also with some grounded logic, like trying to balance those two energies. And then the Knight of Swords is rushing towards something. So you have the King of Swords. The King of Swords is behind him. And then the Knight of Swords is rushing towards whatever their new goal is. And they're very, the knights in the tarot, they signify, sorry, I'm getting like a little bit mixed, a little bit blah, blah, blah. It's when I want to say a bunch of stuff at once. Okay, so the swords are air, and it's very logical, very focused in the mind, but yet the people in the court cards are an element also. So with the Knight of Swords, you have fire and air. So that is really exciting because, fire needs air in order to continue, in order to even be. Like a fire can't be without air. Because if you take away the air, the fire just smothers out. So I think with you, Taurus, you have a lot of air behind you. So you have what it takes to keep going with whatever this new goal is, whatever it is that you're rushing towards. And you're rushing toward it on the back of a of a very focused and stampeding bull. And that's your animal. That's you, Taurus. And yeah. And so I think that what you're moving towards, you're very focused, very determined. You have your eyes on the prize and you got point A to point B. You're being very logical about where you're going. Yeah, you're being very logical about where you're going. Let's see some more. Oh, okay. All right. Okay, so this is really cool. Like, it's interesting because so we have the Knight of Wands. So, and these two cards, they're facing each other. So you're going towards your goal, but your goal is also coming towards you. And you very well may be coming together with another energy that has a very balancing energy for you. Because what we see here is the Knight of Wands. Now, the Knight of Wands is also fire. It's fire and fire, basically, but look at that. He's riding an eagle. I mean, and so it's like you got this fire and fire riding on the air, That's really cool. So this could possibly be a collaboration or it could be a competition because these two knights are coming towards each other like very fast. But we also have an air and then animal, and then we have a land animal. And one appears to be in the autumn and one appears to be kind of in the winter. So that's maybe there's a something for you to think about, and then like a little bit of longer term is, maybe around like the fall and winter, something will come about. I mean, I say that this is the weekly reading, which is great, but the cards reveal themselves in different ways, but this is the energy that's here. So you're basically going to be moving toward your goal with a lot of logic and a lot of fervor, and you're going to know what to do, which is like really cool, which is a lot of times, sometimes folks get going on their goal and they might not quite know like what to do, but you are like, okay, I got a plan, and it's like written down. I got my list and all the things. And then you could be facing some opposing energy. It looks like you have opposing energy coming your way with the Knight of Fire, where you may, you have so much logic, but it's coming up against these passions. So, I think that you'll know, Taurus, as we're talking, or, whether or not these opposing, not entirely sure that they're, I don't know. So that's what I have to probably like just kind of sit with for a little bit. So I think that they could be opposing because they're just kind of like running towards each other, kind of like in a head-on collision. But you are using what you know, which is your logic, because you got a lot of logic behind you, a lot of planning, like I just said. So then with regard to desire and action and drive, you're taking desire and action and drive because like you're being invited to at least embrace the night energy. So maybe what this is saying is like, you got all your logic, but don't forget your passions. Like that passion plays into this as well. And I'm not entirely sure if this is telling you that you're being invited to bring these things into balance, or you're being invited to pay attention to how these forces can feel oppositional. But you know, they could also be coming in like this to create like an integration. Whatever the case may be, there's a lot of intense energy around this. And then we have a Four of Swords coming out in the finish. So don't forget to give yourselves breaks, because with all this like fired up night energy, you're gonna want to like take a little bit of a break. All right. I really like this. I really feel like this deck is speaking very well, so I'm gonna like stick with this deck. Oh wait, I'm gonna shuffle it again. What am I doing? Sorry guys. Okay, but the top cards are all the same. So, Seven of Swords. So, you know, let's see here. Whenever I switch positions like this, I just like to, it's just more comfortable for me. I like know that it's important to like have your feet on the ground, but like my hips are, it's just a little bit of a personal information. My hips are rotated, so like I feel so much more comfortable like sitting with my leg tucked underneath my other leg. Sorry. Just full transparency here, the purple table. So yeah, no, you got, okay, so like take a time out when you need it. You know, I've explained those already. And then stay mindful of the Seven of Swords energy, whether or not this is coming in from somebody else or whether this is coming in from inside of you. Because this card can represent deception. It can represent deception from another person. It could also represent self-deception. You know, because there's this fellow here, and you know, you guys are familiar with the Seven of Swords. It's like this guy is wanting to steal away in the night. Excuse me. And he's trying to carry away seven swords, but he can't quite carry them, you know. I mean, it's like you can't make it away with all of those. So sometimes this card could also represent like futile efforts. I mean, because originally this person is stealing swords, like trying to basically commandeer the weapons from like a soldier camp. And you know, it's like no matter what, like clearly the soldiers have more than 7 swords in their arsenal of stuff. So, you know, you're not really making much of a dent, or if this is internal or if this is somebody else. It's like, yeah, nice try. You're really not making much of a dent with regard to this approach. Okay, because no matter what you do, if you try to do something underhanded, it's not going to work out for you karmically. And you're not, you know, you maybe just have to surrender to like the forces that are around you and the circumstances that you find yourself in, and work with the circumstances rather than against them in a dishonest or sneaky or, you know, kind of like a hubris type kind of way. So that's that piece. And then we have the moon. So it's like, you want to be really, yeah, this looks like this could be speaking of a self-deception here. This looks like it could be speaking of a self-deception here. What's going on for you, Taurus? Because we have the moon card, and it's like the dark night of the soul, okay? So like the moon can also represent shadows and illusion. It's very, it's a major arcana card. And so what you're being invited to do is really do some self-reflection, and do some shadow work. And I know that maybe not a lot of, some folks know what that really means, others don't. But I would go on ahead and like, you know, Google it, because basically shadow work sounds really intimidating and it sounds scary, but it's really, it's so good. It's basically the path to becoming like the most authentic human being that you can be, truly, because you're looking at yourself and you're looking at your triggers and you're looking at where those triggers come from. You're looking at the behaviors that you wish to shed, maybe even behaviors that you don't really like pay too much attention to, like you do this thing, but you're like, I don't know, right? It's like, it's one of those things about yourself that you might not be particularly proud of, which is why a lot of folks don't want to do that work, because you're holding yourself accountable. You're taking responsibility for the choices that you make. And so that's what shadow work is. And the thing is if we make friends with that aspect of ourselves, if those aspects of ourselves, then we can approach it with so much more like gentleness and kindness, and tenderness and compassion towards ourselves and like the whole situation, right? And let's see, like, I think that from that work, you will find that you become your like your spirit, just kind of like your consciousness kind of like just opens up, and you are able and willing to cut yourself more slack and to cut others more slack around the things that they do. Not to say that shadow work is an invitation to become a doormat. That's not the case at all. But it's for you. Learn about yourself. I totally got off on a tangent there about shadow work, but it looks like there's some sort of like self-deception here. Really pay attention to what's going on. There can be some disillusionment. However, your awareness around the whole thing is going to pay off. And I will say this, which is pretty outstanding, is the moon card is surrounded by swords. And swords also represents cutting through the BS and really living in your truth. So, Taurus, you're being invited to live in your truth right now. You're being really called to live in your truth. And I think that on that path, you're also feeling really guarded and feeling very protective of the things that are yours. There is a strong want to like just keep a lot of control, like, and really like holding things down. Another possibility here is that somebody really hurt you. Somebody deceived you, and that sent you into the dark night of the soul to do some reflection. And as another emotional kind of practical approach to this pain, you are like, ooh, not again. No, thank you. I'm going to batten down the hatches, and I'm going to stay on top of what's mine. And you're feeling very protective right now, very guarded. Yeah, the Four of Pentacles really speaks to that. And in this card in particular, there's this little squirrel in front of you while you're just you're not panicking per se, but you are like really tight about, I'm just like, that's the only word that can come to mind, like really tight about the control you want to keep on this, on your stuff and on your practical. You just don't want anybody ripping you off. Somebody ripped you off. So You're being protective of that. Somebody could have ripped you off. All right. And I do want to say one last thing, because I was going to talk about the little squirrel. So, like, you know, you have this little squirrel, and it's like just a really benign little energy, and they're just like kind of going on about their business. And you're in their turf. Like, look at you. You're in the woodland forest. Like, you're a person, like, you're not a woodland creature. And here comes this woodland creature who, like, this is their home, right? And like, they're just cruising along doing their own thing, and it would appear as though if they were to move forward that they might step into a trap. So I think that this card is also asking you to not be so rigid that you see wrongdoing and ill intent from other people that cross your path when they actually don't have any of that ill intent toward you. So beware of setting traps for other people out of a need to control the situation in order to prevent yourself from experiencing the same pain that you just experienced. And I think that the moon is inviting you to do healing around the pain. So you can really see that, you know, and that feels really tender to me as I'm giving you that message. So then we're followed up by the Queen of Swords. Girl, this more Taurus energy with the bull right there, you know. And I really think like, oh, and I knew this was your deck this morning. I was like, yeah. So the Queen of Swords, man, like she could also be the Ice Queen. Don't mind that beeping. That's just my coffee maker turning itself off. You know, I mean, the thing is, she's not gonna let anything get past her, you know. I mean, and you also, like, you have the King of Swords energy here, and the Queen of Swords energy, and the Knight of Swords energy. So honestly, like, and you have the Four of Swords. Like, I really just think that, like, you could also be in your head a lot about what's going on for you right now. And I think that either what's going on for you right now or what recently transpired, this is the thing that you're working on or just feeling, the thing that's taking up a lot of presence in your life. I think that you're taking an approach that's like really logical, and you're feeling quite guarded, and you're being discerned, like you're being really like, because you don't want to get hurt again. You don't want to get deceived. It's like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Stuff coming out. And I think that could be helpful to a degree, but like, you want to be aware of like the potential for becoming too rigid. Because when you begin to become too rigid, then, you know, some sweet little squirrel's going to cross your path, and you're going to like cut its little head off with your sword before it can even like come and like say hello and like see how you're doing. I don't know. Like, you know, it's a real benevolent energy. Like, you just, you can't be so discerned that you're not going to be able to recognize a threat from, you know, malevolence from benevolent energy. You know, but I understand completely how you're feeling pretty, instead of gun shy, I guess I could say sword shy right now. Let's see what else the story is unfolding here. So the Nine of Swords, gosh, this is like swords all day for you right now. Wow. You know, it is what it is. So the Nine of Swords, like, You know, in this card, it's like they got this person with their head in their hands, you know, but they got their wolf behind them. So I think that there's like, I mean, this would appear as though this person is worried. Um, and just sad. Like this person's crying into their hands, on their hands and knees, and they have all their swords in the middle, and then they got their candles around, creating a boundary, creating a barrier. Um, so I think that this is saying that like it's okay to be boundaried because you're still licking your wounds, so to speak, or maybe your wolf is like, you know, helping you lick your wounds. And um you know, and the wolf imagery is also like giving off the lone wolf right now. So I think you're just feeling really guarded. You're feeling really guarded. But I think that the hopeful thing about the Nine of Swords is that it's one of those things where I think. Wait a minute, am I getting this mixed up? Yeah, this is okay. Okay, So I've seen the Nine of Wands in a lot of readings recently. So I started to think about like a defended whatever. It doesn't matter. If I had really good editing app, I would edit the last thing that I said out. So let's just put that in a little cycler. So, okay, the Nine of Swords, you're really in your head about something right now. It's not so much it follows on the Eight of Swords energy. So like the Eight of Swords energy is like a prison of our own making. So the evolution of that is like, you know, if you don't realize that you can break free from the internal prison that you're creating with the Eight of Swords, the issue is just going to kind of eat you up. And so then it's going to start to have an effect on you and your sleep. It's going to take up way too much space in your head. So like there's something really taking up some space in your head right now. This is definitely a dark night of the soul energy. You need some healing. Something has to shift. I'm feeling like a rigidity. You're very hurt, so when you get really hurt, you become really protective of yourself. And I think that there's a part of you that's like, how the heck did this person get one over on me? You're mad too. You're like, how on earth did this person get one over of me? Because I got the King and the Queen of Swords energy like inside of me. You know, maybe that also says something too. Like maybe you feel like you were outsmarted. You feel like you were outsmarted by somebody. Like maybe you thought you met your match, but you ended up meeting like your foe. I don't know. There's definitely some like two competing energies, like even the way that this is laid out too. Because I mean, and I know like I've discovered myself as a reader, I like go back and kind of do some review, and I'm just going with it. Like I just have to go with it. I apologize if that is tedious for some folks, but you know, you have the the King of Swords and then the Knight of Swords. So they're like, there's that energy. And then you had this opposing energy, which is like the Knight of Wands. And then when I laid down the Queen of Swords, that was down here and connected with this. So yeah, I think you feel like somebody like, you know, pulled one over on you. So either way, right now you're in your head a lot about this situation, and you haven't quite figured out how you're going to heal from it. You're still hurting, and so much so that it's affecting your sleep. I think right now you're being invited to like drink more water and like and go out for a walk in the sunshine. I'm only saying that because like this person has their head in their hands and they're on their knees and they're facing away from the sun, and it's a cold place where they're at, right? But they have their support of their wolf behind them, you know, their companion, their trusted companion that's also a protector. Yeah, so we'll see what's up next. 5 of Cups. Yeah, I mean, you're being invited to because based on the trajectory of this reading, it says that you're dwelling, and that's not a judgment at all, but you're far too preoccupied on this situation that just happened, and so that's creating a rigidity inside of you and making it so it's very hard for you to recognize when good people are coming your way. And there's a part of you that's just like, not again, never again. I don't want to get hurt like that again, or be deceived that way again. And like, there's these, like, you're holding 2 cups, right? But you're totally still focused on the loss. It's like you can't seem to get over that. And you know what? I mean, I'm all for people being in whatever headspace they need to be, because it's all a part of the process, right? But what tarot is telling you today, Taurus, is that you're focusing too much on this, and you're being invited to give it some space, give it some breathing room in your mind. You know, sometimes it's like that saying, you know, synapses that fire together wire together. And over time, when we are like thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking about something that just like, trying to make sense out of it too. Like this situation that happened, there's a part of you that's like still trying to make sense out of it. And you know what? I think what happened, I don't think that any like healthy person really can make sense out of it, unless of course it's this other person's therapist, right? The person who came in and did some toxic number on you, or whatever situation, like whoever that person's, like that person has done no shadow work, okay? That's what, anyways, I'm rambling, but yes, you're trying to make sense out of a situation that just like cannot be figured out, and it's okay for you to let it go. You need to let it go. You will never understand, because you will never understand why the particular thing happened, because you didn't cause it to happen. It wasn't your fault. Whatever it was, you know, whatever you're in your head about. So, you know, you're being invited by the tarot to give it some space and to give it some breathing room. And when you find yourself, that's going back to the wire together, fire together, when you find yourself, because the brain becomes habituated to think about things over and over, when you find yourself being habituated to like think about that thing, pick something else. Like you have to, like at this point, you have to consciously choose something else to focus on, because whatever this situation is that you've been in your head about is just so not serving you anymore. And it's not going to serve your future or anybody coming across your path. Maybe there's a part of it. There's something that, you know, whenever we have an experience, there's a positive and a negative. So what you can say is that you definitely want to learn from this experience, okay? You want to learn from this experience. And I think that that's where the shadow work comes in. Even though the shadow work is like about you, the work that's done around the moon card, what the tarot is inviting you to do, is to be very, is to cut through the illusions about yourself, and just really, you could maybe even be invited to see a therapist or a trusted professional right now. And there's no shame in that game at all. At all. That's like, it's like great. Yeah, like remember in the very beginning when I said like I used to be a superhero? And it's kind of like, there's the asshole that did this to me, stripped me of my power, stripped me down. Right? So it's just like, yeah, someone got a number on you and you're just like, nope. All right. So I think when you begin to come out of this, like, so you have this King of Wands energy. And I realized that I just mentioned, like, maybe you go see a therapist. And here's this dude, like, sitting on this throne. And I'm like, okay, are you going to go see a therapist or, like, some trusted advisor in your life that's going to help you get back on track about how you want to take action in your life and take fearless action in your life? Cautious, but fearless. Calculated, but flexible. You know, the kings are at the top of the court cards, you know, in every element, in every suit. And they really do represent like the strongest position of that energy, which, you know, can be really great and can also be a little bit too much. So it's kind of like you are also being invited to like learn from this person. Because there's like, as I'm like, there's just a growth and a trajectory, and there's just this process that you're going through. Because like, if we go back to where you started, Taurus, like, you know, this Page of Cups, you kind of had like this impulsive thing. And maybe it invited some kind of energy into your life that made it so you had your guard down. And you surprised yourself because you're usually so calculated about everything. But then you like went ahead and did this impulsive thing of like embracing this Page of Cups kind of, you know, don't look before you leap kind of energy when it comes to emotions. And, you know, you've been blaming yourself a lot for what happened, what you've been up against. And whether or not this is like in the realm of love or business or whatever, like this is the energy that I'm getting here. So the King of Wands. So another interesting thing, I always love to read how the cards are like positioned and facing each other and stuff. And so you have the Five of Cups and the King of Wands. And so like here you are focusing on the spilt wine on the bottom, but you're holding the two cups, but you're not looking at the two cups. And like, but you're also in a way could even appear to be offering these cups to this King of Wands. You know, maybe this is also telling you to be aware of not, I think you wanted to like, wait, let me just sit with that for a minute. So you're like offering, because it even looks, I mean, that's a trip. Like it looks like while you're still focused on the spilled wine with your eyes and your mind. You got these 2 cups, but it's like, those cups are supposed to be yours. You know, those cups are yours. And like, that wine up in there, that's yours. A few sips of that. But here you are, you know. There's this King of Wands energy that's coming in. Someone who takes action. Someone who takes action when it comes to life, but takes measured action. They're not impulsive. And it's almost as if, like, with you holding the cup, the 2 cups that you do have left over for yourself, which are basically like your blessings, you're just kind of holding them out in front of you while you're not even looking where you're going. So I think this is inviting you to also be careful with your emotions. I think what's happening is that there's a disconnect between your thoughts and your feelings. I think that if you think that, okay, I get the sense that you feel like as long as you have control in the intellectual arena, that that will somehow trickle over or be instrumental in like making sure that like your feelings are protected. But what I'm seeing here is that you're not even looking at, I mean, you're looking at your feelings because you're feeling them all the time. You've been really in your head about it. But there's a disconnect between your head and your heart. And I think that you're being invited to heal your heart. Get out of your head about this thing. And like, you're seeking some consult, I feel like. Either seeking consult from someone who is admired and appears to be like a really trusted guide and source of like, wow, you really look up to this person. But you're kind of giving up your power, like the way that you're moving towards this person. And you don't have to give up your power. You really admire this consultant, this person that you're talking to, but you don't have to give up your power or give up your blessings. Those cups belong to you. But I think that this person, I don't think that they have bad intentions for you at all. I think that they want to be your guide. I think that they want to be here for you. But they're also probably going to remind you that you can keep your cups too. Because I'm seeing this king and he's not looking at the cups. He's looking for, he's like, I don't need your cups. You got to keep those for yourself. So yeah, I mean, I think that there's something about where you're at, where you're just like, if I just knew what to do, then I didn't have to feel this way anymore. Oh, that is a tough spot to be in. So you are being invited to meditate. Meditate. Because there's a stagnation in this whole jam. And you're feeling it too. You're just like, okay, I want to be done with this. But like my brain feels like addicted to thinking about this situation, whatever it was, whatever context, whatever thing happened that threw you for a total loop here. So the energy that you've been like really just like treading water in, like it's really become like a slurry, like a muddy pool. And I think you have to find your way out of it, because there is stagnation in thinking about all these things. It's almost as if you've become so stable in the space that you've been occupied. It's like you kind of created a new homeostasis for yourself. Which isn't like expanding your world. It's making your life feel and look like the size of a postage stamp. You know, to quote one of my favorite teachers, Pema Chodron. If you folks haven't gotten clued into that gal, do it. She's a Tibetan Buddhist nun and she's amazing. I've never met her, but I would love to. And she's just like, there's so much. It's like she's just pure wisdom, you know? It's like just so beautiful. I go on little tangents. You'll come to find this, Taurus. So yeah, you're being invited to meditate. You're being invited to create a new homeostasis because the one that you've been occupying is becoming stagnant. And this is Cancer energy. The Four of Cups is some Cancer energy. So like maybe you have some Cancer in your chart, or, you know, with Cancers, it's like there's a need to be protective of oneself, but it's like they got that little hard shell around them, but they're nice and soft on the inside. So I think you're also being invited to get in touch with that tender part of yourself, which, to be fair, in this layout, comes right below the moon. So a part of your shadow work, a part of your dark night of the soul, is getting in touch with the like the real tender parts. Like, not your tender vittles, sorry. But just getting in touch with your tender heart. Because you were really hurt by this experience. Perfect. Beautiful. You are being divinely guided through this. You are being divinely guided through this because we have the Strength card. And in the trajectory, that's growth. That is healing. That is the willingness to do uncomfortable work in order to come anew, in order to just be more integrated and just be more sturdy within yourself. And you are really taming the inner lion. I mean, and you're doing this by, you know, you're mounting your fears, basically. I mean, God, the Strength card, that's great. Mount your fears. Really get clear on what the fears, because this has really stirred up so much stuff. Like I had mentioned earlier, like you've been treading water in a slurry. And now that I think about that, it's kind of like when there's sediment on the bottom of the river, or, you know, on the bottom of the pond or on the bottom of the lake. And then we kind of like are like, there's this tumultuous kind of kicking about, treading water in one spot. We're like knocking up a lot of the stuff that just gets kind of like stays down underneath. And I think that what you're being invited to do is, in the process of doing your moon and shadow work and your Four of Cups, like your meditation, your reflection, your Cancer, like getting in touch with the inner softer parts of yourself, that you through doing that vulnerable work, which doesn't feel like a strength place to be, it's through that you're able to mount the lion. You know, it doesn't seem that way. It's kind of like, it's like an oxymoron in a way, like, oh really, Robin, like I'm gonna go, you know, and bare my soul and get in touch with all the soft or inner parts of myself, and oh my gosh, are you suggesting I blow myself up and turn myself inside out, and oh my gosh, I can't do that, you know. And it's like, okay, I totally get that that's super scary. And and it doesn't have to all be done at once. you can take your time through this. But the point is that you need to be consistent, and you need to be working through it. You can't just like, okay, I did a little bit, and then now I'm going to go back into my shell, and I'm going to like do my defensive act, and like I'm going to, you know, repeat the cycle and la-di-da. So either way, what the cards are saying for you, Taurus, is that you have what it takes to do the hard work, and that you are going to do the hard work if you so choose to, because you are being invited to. And the tarot wouldn't invite you to do something if you weren't absolutely able and ready to do that thing. So there's that piece and take heart in that. And so yeah, you got what it takes to like change your trajectory and like start a new path and have growth and all the beautiful, wonderful things, and like rewire your brain so you don't have to be locked into thinking about whatever that crap is anymore. And guess what? When you do that, you're going to get the Sun card. Boom. Oh my goodness. Look at this reading, you guys. Going through the moon, the dark night of the soul, it will lead you into the sun. There is no clarification needed for this reading at all. There's none. There's none that's needed. You guys. Yes. Let me take a look at this card, because I think I see a little baby. I'm sorry. On the Sun card, that little kid just cracks me up. The little teeny chubby little baby. Oh my God. You guys, the Sun card is the best. It is the best card in the deck. It's everything, dude. It's like all this hard work. I mean, you basically came from like the snow and the ice, come from the land of the ice and snow, and then like boom, you come down the whole process and you wind up with the sun. The sun is everything you've ever wanted, truly. You know, and I want to sound like a car salesman by any means, but like it's positive vibes. It's whatever it is that, you know, living in alignment with your truth, living in complete alignment with your truth, because the sun shines on your world, you know, and you see it illuminates everything, and it's success. It's, you know, soulmate energy. It's basically like, you know, through the course of this journey here, and granted, this isn't going to happen in a week. You know, I don't know. Like, I don't think this is going to be happening in 1 week, because it's like kind of big, but like, it sounds like what you're being invited to do this week is to start your shadow work, because this is where you're headed. That's where you're headed. That's beautiful. You've been through a lot, Taurus. So let's go ahead and pick a little oracle card for you at the very end, and that'll be really nice. Let's see. Now, what energy is like, what kind of like sweet affirmation, or, you know, because it's just like, I don't know, oracle cards are always so nice. It's like after the tarot kind of slaps you around, and you have like an oracle card is like a cup of tea and an ice pack, or like a blankie and a latte. Oh, my loves. Oh, honeys. Be gentle with yourselves, okay? Seriously. You could let your guard down. Let your guard down a little bit. Man. Here. Okay. Okay. Okay, so you got diving for light. You can't make this up. Diving for light. What was this entire reading about just now? If this isn't an invitation to do your shadow work, I don't know what is. I mean, yes, diving for light. Yeah. I mean, you're going to be plumbing the depths of your emotions, and that sounds terrifying. You don't have to do it all in one day, because I know you're a very logical person, and maybe you have a lot of, maybe there are some of you out there that have a lot of air signs in their chart and all those things. So be sure to like watch your sun, moon, and rising to get like a full picture. But either way, diving for the light, you're being invited to do your shadow work. And what this is also saying is that you're going to be okay. There's safety. And I think that that's where this guy comes in. Where it's, and it could be a guy or a girl. I'm just saying guy because it's like there's this king and, looking at me here. But it could be a man or a woman. It's basically just that sturdy energy, that trusted guide that you really admire. It's important, that your consultants and you just want that safety, and you're going to be okay. You can do this. Dive for the light, because everything on the other side is beautiful. So we're going to leave it at that, Taurus. Thank you so much for coming today. I absolutely loved this reading for you. I really felt like it was speaking loud and clear. Okay, you take care. Bye.